What's good, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about Viktor Grebenovak and his anti-gravity discovery. Now, there's a lot of wish-wash, pish-posh in this category, but I took my 2 cents and dove into this and decided to explain this in a way that not even Victor did. So, let's go ahead and look at some of the strange examples. So we have these wings. Basically, Victor says that a scarab beetle wing has some strange phenomenon that looks really close to kind of like a magnetic or anti-gravitational effects. So here's somebody basically with the wings already ready to test with, and you can see that there's some strange, like, weird effects where this wing just kind of wants to do what it wants to do. Okay, so not a lot of people know that actually insects all have hairs underneath their wings. Butterflies, flies, fruit flies, bees, they all have these hairs. All of them. And also, majority of insects will also have 4 wings. They'll have 4 wings. And these hairs are positioned underneath the wing, pointing down to the other wing. And they flap them together, right? Like friction. So, a very interesting thing as well, okay, is a beehive. A swarm of honeybees can generate as much electrical charge as a thunderstorm. A beehive, all those bees in there are generating electricity. That is a scientific known fact. Now, we just would have to test this on every single insect. But for bees, we know that they emit a huge electrical charge just from all of them flying in there. Weird. How is that happening? Where is that electrical charge coming from? Okay, that's an interesting statement. Another strange scientific research that's been done that backs up this interesting connection with insects is that they've actually done tests with fruit flies in magnetic fields, and they have found that changing the magnetic field and affecting it affects the flight of these fruit flies. Fruit flies have very interesting responses to magnetic fields, and it does affect how they fly. So we go back to these wings under these insects, and we really notice, especially with the dragonfly, that this is a Voronoi sequence. It's a mathematical sequence. Now, if you want to basically know exactly how it's all set up, you could look it up, but it basically has to do with like perfection of like distance. And in the center is the dot. That is where each of these hairs will go. But the Voronoi sequence could be found in like flowers. It could be found, it's just kind of naturally how the world is set up to build life. So these insects were built and born with a natural Voronoi sequence with little dots under them. Now, how it all connects is you have 2 wings flapping together. Now, we already know that bees generate static, like they generate electric fields. Theoretically, I'm saying it's because of the consistent flapping of the 2 wings together, these 2 wings, that generate static, generate enough friction to create an electrical charge. Now, also, we could look into the material that these wings were made out of, and if they even have the capability to kind of create static. But that is a whole other thing, because I really do feel there's enough. So now you ask me, what does that mean? Who cares if there's hairs, and who cares if they're in the Voronoi sequence? Well, there is something called ion propulsion. That is when you use like electric particles shooting off the tip of a conductive material, and that electric particle pushes wind. It's called ionic thrust, ionic propulsion. Here's an example of it. Now this isn't using static electricity. This isn't having another plate to connect to push it to. It's just shooting it straight in the air off of just immense charge. These are being filled with so much electrical charge that it's shooting off the tips of these points and creating thrust. It's a different type of electricity. It's direct current. Now, I'm theorizing that insects use static electricity through the flapping of their wings to generate ionic thrust. The static electricity generated on the insects go off the bottom tip of the hairs and fly down to the other portion of the body, ergo creating an ionic thrust between the two wings, or even possibly both wings could, like all four wings could be doing ionic thrust, depending on the insect. Now, that is generally one of my most favorite discoveries about this subject. I think it's really worth looking deeply into. I've already designed ionic ships based on this idea. I just have not built a static electrical machine to test it out yet. I go halfway, but very interested to see if anybody makes an ionic propulsion engine based on the wings of insects, because I think that this is what we're doing wrong. Anytime you look up an ion propulsion engine, anytime, you see one engine. NASA uses this in space, but it's one engine. Just one. So you could see here how the design between nature and humans is so bad. It's so bad. We got one needle, one, boop, right there. That's our hair. That's our hair follicle. We got this canister with like gas to kind of help them make it more effective, and they shoot it out the back. The ion beam right here. That's it. That's it. While an insect has hundreds of wings positioned in a mathematical perfected sequence, the Varoni sequence, and they're all propulsion engines. They're all propulsion. So I find it fascinating how we have not made more diverse, different, unique ionic propulsion engines. So I hope that this helps. I hope that this opens your mind, and I'll see you guys soon.